Right. Better hear that video. But you can start with Habakkuk, the second chapter. Start at the top. There's a lot going on, and a lot of things being built up. Also, First Thessalonians 5, not the water. A lot of things being set up for 2026. But yeah, let's get into it. All right, Shalom. First and foremost, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And we out here once again. We're gonna get right into it. As we were just mentioning, a lot of things are being set up going into 2026, and especially in the in the realm or the direction of this artificial intelligence, which I wouldn't be surprised if they end up altering the name, as like AI being almost like a thing of the past, and they step it up and call it something else now. You know, um, I think Trump was even saying that he doesn't like the term AI, and he ended up calling it SI, Supreme Intelligence. Which they're also talking about AGI. Um, uh, I forgot what that stands
I
for.
think it's artificial general.
Okay, yeah, it might be that. And they're basically saying that that's supposed to be a higher level um, of our artificial intelligence. Okay, but what they're trying to do now, which Trump did, that he signed an executive order, which basically, which I think was a part of the big beautiful bill, but he signed an additional executive order that prohibits states from regulating artificial intelligence. Okay, so what that means is a state can't say, oh, this is too much, this is too invasive, so we gotta put some limitations on it. Nah, he said that he wants to have a national framework where everybody follows that. All right, and you can't deviate from that. So they're pushing now. You can't tell me that AI is not a part of these prophecies, because it's literally permeating through everything, through the financial sector, through the military, through the the legislative, political, all aspects of it, even the religious aspect. Soon they're gonna be having AI holding prayers and stuff. AI teaching you about the Bible, which we use it, but it's different because we know what it already is. It's just making it easier for us, or giving us extra sources, external secular sources to answer certain questions, right? As opposed to you having to go and dig in. As a matter of fact, now they got on YouTube. They have the AI AI button where if a video, I think if it's over a year old or so, when you click the AI button, it gives you the ability to ask questions about what's in the video. So if it's a 2-hour video, you don't gotta watch the whole 2 hours. If you just there's a button you can press that says like what is the video about, and it summarizes everything, right, in points, and then it gives you the time stamps in the video where each part is being mentioned. So it's kind of like the transcript, but this is a bit more efficient, right? Summarizes it to about 2 to 3 paragraphs. And you can just read it and see, okay, and it'll tell you exactly. It even includes the name of the Lord, Yahweh Shai. It'll say that. If a brother mentions Yahweh Shai, it'll actually say it with the right spelling, you know? So then you can actually ask it questions. Oh, well, did they say this or did they mention that? So, you might not, want to watch a 2-hour video and you want to just maybe get to a specific portion. You can do that with it. All right. But the point is, with the direction they're moving in, they're basically, before they unveil their their version of their supreme intelligence, they want to make sure that you can't, when people see it, they can't say, oh, this is too much. We gotta put a stop to this, or we gotta do something about this. They're gonna tell you ain't doing shit about it. All right? Because that's what these legislations are for.
Good point. That also made me think of, if the videos are being summarized, that's easier for persecution,
Oh yeah.
because they could bring it up, and instead of like playing this, I mean, they could do what they want, but like instead of playing this long video, they could just have, these are listen to his videos. We all summarize. It's all about hate. These are listen to his videos. All summarized about his hate for women. just all easier, just to put all in one category. Okay, this video is about that. This video is about that.
Exactly. You know, you sent the yeah. Okay. So yeah, and so that's very easy to do. But now it's like it's very quickly ramping up. You know, and then now every company is dealing with AI. But when they come out with it, I mean, going into next year, 2026, when they start putting AI inside of robotic bodies, people are going to start to see it different, see it real different. You know. But yeah, they're gonna start looking at it. Yeah. They're gonna start looking at it different. And if you don't know what we're talking about, the body, if you don't know what we're talking about, go and check out the movie Subservience. All right, and go look at the concept of the Sims. You'll see how realistic they are. You know, so you know we're not saying that January 1st, 2026, you're gonna see a Sim walking around. I mean, if you do, hey, well, like Ex Machina. You know, if you see that, then hey, you might see it. But this is the direction they're heading in. All right, and you can already see, just like Shalaman said, there was another movie. I think it was called like Mercy or something
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
coming out, I think January 23rd. That's
So it is Mercy.
yeah.
Yeah, and they got an AI that's in the position of like a judge that's basically interrogating this man to determine. Now the story itself has its own plot, but the concept that you can see in there is they're using it to determine to say, okay, is this guy guilty of whatever charges he's brought upon? And it's looking at him, it's asking him questions. Then it'll look at how his pupils dilate, how his eyes move, how his body moves. Then it'll say, no, you're lying. That's not true. That's not correct. Okay, what about this? What were you doing here? Now, the thing about it is, when you see things like Sora, right, which, people are using, and the thing, like, these models get better and better. That's the problem, all right? It's not that, up too late. It's not that they just stay the same. There's a video out about, I think it was Dolly, which is like a model used to generate videos and pictures. And it was of Will Smith eating spaghetti from 2023 versus 2025. Okay. So when you look at 2023 to 2025, that 2 year span, you're like, damn, that's a huge improvement since then. The thing about it, though, is that it's not going to take another 2 years for it to improve at that same rate. This time it might take 6 months to improve at a better rate. Okay, because what it is like when let's say you got to move somewhere, right? It's like there's like I don't know, 10 or 20 or 50 chairs of furniture that you got to move, and every 5 chairs you get an additional 5 people to help you. What's going to happen? You think it's going to take you the same amount of time it took you when you first started? No, because with you it's just one person, so you got to go. You got to get one chair, bring it back, another chair, bring it back, until you get to 5 chairs, right? Ain't no way. Chihuahuas are bugging. So you got to put your dog on a leash, man. But it takes you one trip, then another trip, then another trip, then another trip, right? But then after the fifth one, now you got 5 other people with you. So now, like if it took you 1 second per chair, each second you're gonna have 5 chairs because you already got 5 people with you. And then after that, you're gonna have 10 people with you. So now each second you're gonna have 10 chairs. So the point is, these technological advances ain't gonna be going, at the same rate as you're seeing it as. So in your mind, you're thinking, oh well, it took them 2 years to get it this advanced. Now it might be another 2 years before. No. Then they pop out with something new. Then you're like, oh shit. And now it's to the point where was it Pete Hegseth? Which when you watch a lot of those videos, you gotta watch it real carefully, man, because there's a good chance that they use AI in even some of those videos that they bring out to announce shit. When you see him just sitting there, it's just him. Just like say Pete Hegseth, for example, he's sitting in the office and he's talking, and this is the thing that we're having, and blah blah blah. When you really watch that with close and careful manipulation and video editing, they could literally use AI to generate those videos. They can have half of Trump's videos where he's in the Oval Office talking be just AI generated, and it's not even him. Okay, and then that's there to tell you about the AI advancements that they're about to bring. So when the scriptures talk about a time like never before, we're actually seeing a time like never before. See, when you go back into history, what was it, Daniel? I forgot if it was I think it was Daniel 7. it mentioned that the let's get that at you real quick. Daniel 7. Yeah, 7. It mentioned that the fourth beast was diverse from all day that came before it. And we always go into how the this goes into like the Rome and how it ruled different, right? It had the Senate and so on and so forth. So it ruled somewhat differently than all the empires before it. However, it still was the same in a certain sense, right? You still had some ruling class, you still had your military, right? You still had, norms, right? They had their laws, their customs, and so on that they did. The difference now, though, is that we're in a time where this rulership is unlike what anybody has seen before. And that's what Yuval Noah Harari was saying. That in the past, rulers were limited by what they could do. Because they could have total dominion over the people, but there's a limit on how much power they could attain because they didn't have the means or the technology. Now with that technology, they can rule differently. Now you can be in an actual technocracy. Okay, allowing them to cross the barrier of what you see as normal and abnormal through technology. They can do that. So now, like he was saying, humans are now hackable creatures. So they can hack you and extend you. And there was this video game that came out. I think it was it's an online game like a battle royale. But
Was it Watch Dogs?
huh?
Was it Watch Dogs?
No, not that. This one is a different one. But basically in there, when you watch before you play the game, when you load in, they show you the scene, like the cinematic, give you a little backstory. And basically what it is that they took the concept of a battle royale from playing it on a controller in Fortnite to real human beings. And what they'll do is they'll transport them to some remote island somewhere. Yeah, it's a video game. And they'll transport them to some remote island somewhere, and then you'll go in battle, and when you die, they'll revive you. But the way they revive you is so long as I think your brain is still there, they'll build around it. And then they'll replace your arms with mech arms and mech legs and shit. That's basically what the game is like. The Battle Royale, I forgot the name of it. It came out not too long ago. But they show you in that once you have the brain, they grow it back. And they had technology that made it grow super, super quick. So they would basically grow it back in a little encasement and then grow the body around it. And then they would, reattach the limbs and all that. And you would wake up and they would say, welcome back. And then throw your ass right back into the field for people to watch for entertainment. So shit like that, they have the technology to do those kinds of things. So when they start delving into the realms of this, you're gonna see what it means by a time like never before. Ain't nobody seen this before. So prophets of old had a hard time describing it. Got that? There it is. Yeah. Matter of fact, no. What do we have before? Habakkuk? Yeah, let's get that. Oh, actually, you had a point.
Oh, I was gonna say, hold on, I remember. I forgot what you were saying, but they could have control like never before.
Mm-hmm.
If you think of it like spreading like a spider's web. They essentially have the power of a god, because if this thing is able to spread throughout the entire world, now what? They can shut down, certain things from across the world. They don't have to actually be there. They don't have to send anybody over there. They could just say, hey, have the AI go over there and shut it down. Kind of like what you saw in Age of Ultron. He was able to do things across the web because he had access within there. So that's how he was able, like when he met Klaus, the guy who cut off his hand, he just closed his eyes and he just paid him. But where did he get the money from? So you see, it's like when Ultron had access, in that movie, Ultron had access to the whole world. So you could just pay, get money, you could get vibranium. How does he get into vibranium? Because you got to think about how did he get to make the vision body? He has access to things because he's pretty much, he himself is the internet.
Right. Exactly. There you go. That's it. And he can do it much faster and much more efficient than you. And that's why with the blocking of the states from being able to, basically, it's like saying you can't intervene with the advances that we're doing. So, and that's a very dangerous thing, because now you're kind of saying, like, if it's in the name of AI, you can't do anything about it. Well, all they gotta do is, that's like a Trojan horse. Just stuff everything under the blanket of AI, and then now they're introducing policies, and you're like, wait, how does this have anything to do with AI? Well, it's laying the groundwork for AI. So according to that executive order, you can't do anything. And what this is gonna be is like, when you do something in one state and you try to flee into another, and then they show you in the movies, they'll be like, they'll click a few buttons, they'll say, okay, access the database find all the cameras over here, you know, spot the last known location of such and such. Imagine they have AI doing that, because usually they'll have people, when you watch like a NCIS and so on, they'll have people going through that. Okay, then they all in the room. They're like, oh, wait, what's that? Hold on. It look like the video is edited. Pause. Play. Slow down. Zoom in. All right. Cross-reference his face in the database. Oh, there he is.
That's the worst.
The what?
Worst.
Yeah, exactly. Except when artificial intelligence does it, it can do it all at once. You know, it's not like, all right, let's contact Minnesota Department and say, yo, we need your video evidence of you know, what was happening over here at this time. They don't need to do that. So they don't want those barriers. Oh, you got to go through this, and no. We don't got to go through any of that. We're gonna do it the way we're gonna do it, and you're gonna sit down and like it. So everybody's gonna be held hostage to this AI thing.
Hey, real quick, I know y'all was talking about Trump's new AI executive order that he had signed in. And
Yep.
basically, when you look at it, it's pretty much like we mentioned earlier, right? You and I were talking earlier about how they're basically opening the door to bypass the Constitution, because you have states that are, you know, they kind of like, let's say New York has its own laws compared to New Jersey. But if you have it where every state has its own laws, it's going to make it way too hard, make it way too hard for AI to really be implemented like that. So in order for them to actually implement AI on a wide scale, like how they really want it, right? Like a Minority Report kind of vibe, where it's pretty much like everyone is subject to AI. Everyone is looked at as a criminal until proven innocent. Like you're just based on the data and algorithm, you're always going to be deemed a criminal. Okay. For example, you have companies like LexisNexis. I brought them up before, where they take all your driving database, all your driving data, and then they sell it to insurance companies, and then they jack up your premiums. So it goes from hard shifts to hard brakes to acceleration. Like, let's say you're driving and then maybe you have a dog that always comes around, and you stop every morning because the dog always runs around your car. It's documenting all that shit. And then it sends it to them, because again, it's all AI. It's not physically there to see these things. It's just collecting data, right? It's responding to your input. So that information is stringed into an algorithmic thing, which creates this whole database for this individual. And then your real life is impacted based on this data algorithm that's been collecting. Okay. So you sit here thinking, oh, I'm just going to go here and do this. That's why in the second Esdras, it says that a man shall desire to go into a city and will not be able to, because now you can't do nothing. If you're outside of your jurisdiction / geofencing area, your internet is not going to work, right? Your ID is not going to work. There's nothing that you can do about it. Okay. So basically shutting everyone out and imprisoning you in your own entire household, if you will, until you comply, right? Another thing too, as a matter of fact, I have it right here. It says Texas to require ID for apps. And that's going to be as in effect starting January 1st. So that's in a couple of weeks from now. Okay. And it says here, Texas passed Senate Bill 2420, the App Store Accountability Act. Okay. ASAA, requiring app stores like Apple apps, app stores, or Google Play to verify users' ages and get parental consent for minors under 18 to download apps to make in-app purchases starting January 1st, 2026. So the very first day of 2026, they're kicking the ball rolling to let you know what kind of year it's going to be. Okay. It says this is all to protect kids from harmful content and spending, though tech companies are challenging the law. Now, the funny thing is, when you have these devices, because they're always lying, right? They lie and tell you that, oh, we're doing it to protect children and so on and so forth. But yet, all these gadgets that we use, there's a place called parental control. Phones have it, video games have it, all these different. Why are we going to skip that part and come up with a whole new legislation because parents can't take care of their children? So now you need the government to come in and babysit your children and handhold the parents to make sure, oh, your children are making sure that they're not downloading any harmful content. Like, what are you talking about? Right? So that's just an excuse, a Trojan horse, like we always say, to bring in the actual system that they want to actually implement. Okay, so they have to have people coerce to this. They have to have people consent to this by saying, oh, it's for your safety, right? Everyone wants safety, right? But there's no regulation of this shit. So how are you going to call something safe when it's not regulated? How are you going to do that? Right? So it says here, key provisions of the Texas law. It says age verification. App stores must use commercially reasonable methods to verify users' age categories, 13 and under, whatever, under 13, 15, 13 to 16, 16 to 17, 18 plus, and so on and so forth. It says parental consent. For minors, anyone under 18, parental consent is required for app downloads and in-app purchases. So you have to physically upload your ID, your government issued ID, or you upload a copy of your credit card and then scan your face. All right, and this is also something that YouTube is also implementing as well. Okay, so don't be surprised when 2026 come and now you're starting to see, yo, the family of the word is really kicking in, because in order to use certain platforms to gain the word or to actually, put videos up, they're gonna ask you for all these different information that you necessarily might not be okay with sharing. Okay, so with that, you're gonna start seeing a depletion in videos, right? People watching videos, your access to certain videos. If you don't comply with the new digital framework, so to speak, your ability to watch certain videos are going to be shut off, because they'll say, well, we can't verify if you're old enough to watch this video. So boom, there you go. You don't have access to this video no more. You don't have access to this channel no more, and so on and so forth. Okay. Even content creators will have to prove that they're above 18 in order to even put up certain videos. So we see the ball rolling, bro. Okay, for those who can't see it, guess what? These technocrat companies, they're not building an infrastructure with sin in all its various forms in mind. They're not even thinking politics, how much more sin, right? They're thinking of how do we set this infrastructure up there so we can control everything. They ain't even talking about, oh, your political views. They don't care about that. Alex Karp doesn't come up talking about the Democrats and the Republicans. This is going to help all of us. He doesn't talk about politics. He just says we need to implement this shit for the whole government. This is how we're going to run shit, okay, for the safety of all. You see? So they're bypassing the whole concept of religion and politics. None of that shit even plays a role in what they're planning to do. And eventually people are going to see it. Once you start seeing AI demanding your worship and people getting executed based off of algorithmic data that's flawed, that's when people are going to really, oh shit, what the fuck? Why did we let this happen? Too late. Too late. All right. It says enforcement, right? This is how they're going to enforce it. It says enforcement. The law allows private lawsuits and penalties, potentially up to $10,000 per violation. What the hell is going to have $10,000 just sit there just because they don't want to upload a digital ID of themselves so they can use YouTube? You're going to charge me $10,000? Or maybe YouTube going to have to be fined $10,000 because they said this person over here, one of us, whatever, uploaded a video without having our ID credentials. So that's a no-no. You see what I'm saying? So these are all things that we got to all pay attention to very closely, because this is all part of prophecy. Okay, the family of the word and so on and so forth. Okay? Your brothers got it.
Done. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Years ago, came out and said that. Yeah, just like the brother was saying, man. And they're gonna make it to where it's like it's deceptively trapping, right? Because it's kind of like what they did with the C19, and saying, oh well, we're not gonna say that we're gonna come and grab you up and do that to you, but if you don't do it, then you can't do this, that, and the third. So the ball's in your court on it. Nikki Haley, yeah. That demon, so that's pretty much the angle that they're coming with it. But interestingly enough, you're gonna have a lot of people that are gonna fall for it, because they know how to market to different demographics. They know how to market to gamers. They know how to market to tech fanatics, right? They know how to market to businesses. They know how to market to all of these things. That's why with for example, OpenAI, what they're doing is they're pairing up. In fact, Disney just made a big partnership with OpenAI, their video generation content called Sora, and then that way they're basically saying now you can generate videos with Disney characters, right? So they're showing you that what you're starting to see is this merging, right, of what look like different standalone businesses are now all merging into one. This company's making a deal, then this company's making a deal, then that company's making a deal, which from the beginning they were all, behind the scenes working together anyway, but now they're making their public announcements, letting you know that, look, it's an enticing thing, because now you can use this and that and this and that and that all together. And people are failing to realize that's a very powerful thing to do. That's a lot of power to give into a company, right? And it's all fun and games until they start to use it against you. People in this world are not ready for what's coming today, man. They're not ready for what's coming tomorrow either. That's why we tired of Welcome to Hell, because they don't realize they're in hell because the fire ain't been turned up. See, when you throw a frog, say you took a frog, right? You put it in nice warm water, and it's cold outside. That's what Esau will do. He'll put you on the stove, but he'll put you in warm water when it's cold outside. So you're thinking, oh, hey, this guy ain't so bad. I thought he was gonna kill me, but he put me in a nice warm bath. And he closed the top on top of that to make sure that I'm real safe and secure in here. Wow, what a good guy. Then he starts to turn up the heat. Oh, I guess it's getting colder outside, so he really wants me to keep warm. Then eventually, it's getting kind of warm in here. I think this is okay now. There ain't nobody here there listening to you. Then it's getting hotter and hotter. Okay, I think I'm ready to come out now. No, they ain't going out no way, nigga. That's when you start to realize, wait. Okay, all right, hold on. I think this guy is playing a different kind of game. Yeah, he playing chess. You playing checkers. All right. And before you know it, your feet, you doing the hot potato inside of a freaking pot on the Edomite stove somewhere in the basement in Alaska. Because that's how Esau's, that's how he functions. He's a devil. Okay, that's what the devil does. One thing that also made him diverse, right, as the scriptures say, is his subtlety, right? He knows the Rothschilds themselves, the Rockefellers, these elite families, and so on and so forth. They themselves don't study human psychology. No, they're masterminds of plotting for, okay, this is what we want to achieve. This is what we want to achieve. This is what we want to achieve. And they set up the people in the right offices to do so. These people are not ready. They're about to burn your asses in this hell. You're going to realize what hell is. Oh, I'm good to water. Just put it out for me. They're going to burn your ass in hell. These so-called Christians that like to argue for the gates of hell? Hell is a real place. Yeah, no, hell got to be a real place. Then you want to go there and find out? So they fight so hard for it, you're going to find out what hell is like. When they turn your life into a living hell, and it always happens, it never fails. Because you know what's going to happen? Esau's not going to say, well, because you complied, you're going to be all right. I'm going to set you aside and you go, no, you ain't. They showed that in the movie, one of the Planet of the Apes, where you had the orange gorilla, right? The brown, orange, whatever you want to call him, his coon ass. He basically was helping the humans against the apes. Apes. He was helping them against the apes. And and at the end, he realized that they threw his ass right back into the cage. After he done caught all of them and put them in there, they threw him in the cage too. They said, look, you still an ape, You just helped us out a bit, but don't get beside yourself. Get your ass back in the cage. And at the end, he was like, damn, I messed up. And he risked his life to try and, what's this guy's name? Reek. Yeah, his real name wasn't Reek, but he became Reek by force from Game of Thrones. I forgot what his actual name was.
I think it was Theon.
Greyjoy. Yeah. Greyjoy. That little hoe. Yeah, he found out the hard way. But guess what? He became Reek. But at the end, he tried to make up for it. But really, regardless of how much you were willing to sacrifice, it was not looked at really as anything more than really this is the least you could do for the things that you've done. So that's what's gonna happen, man. And a lot of these people, man, they're jumping, they're falling for the bait, hook, line, and sinker. People are not even protesting AI anymore. It's just a matter of, let me start a business and throw a wrapper on ChatGPT and call it a new startup. That's literally what all these companies are doing. Yeah, we want to take the car business and revolutionize it by throwing AI in there. It's just keywords. Take cars and throw AI in there, and all of a sudden it becomes magical. It's like in the fairy tales when the witch waves her wand and she starts turning inanimate objects to become animated, like Beauty and the Beast. That's what they're doing. They're literally giving life to all these things. They'll say, well, you know what? Take a car, make it a smart car, throw AI on it. Take a house, make it a smart house, throw AI on it. Because artificial intelligence will make it intelligent. It will make it alive, right? If it's a tree, throw AI on it so it can bear fruit for you. That's basically what they're trying to do when they try to merge the organic and the inorganic, so they can now control that. That's how they play God. If they can make an artificial tree with their lab-grown, cells and whatnot, and embed technology in there, well, who's to stop them from creating an artificial earth? That's how this devil thinks. Where we at? Oh, did you have fun? Okay. Habakkuk 2, yep.
This is the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2.
How do you say? No, that's fine.
Oh, okay. Chapter 2 and 1, and it reads, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved.
So now, what are we doing? We're up on the towers. Now, in the ancient world, you had defend cities, and he needed to defend cities, right? So you actually had a tower, towers, high points where you would have watchmen be on there, and they would watch, and they would have their course, right? And they would actually watch. Today you have like security guards. We're not in that step right now. Okay, so how are we upon the watchtower? Right now, the tower is the internet, you know? And so by constantly watching, what's going on over here in this news outlet and over here and on, we're watching to see the things that are happening, to see what he will say unto us. Because how is the Lord speaking? By these prophecies, by these events, right? It says he declared the end from the beginning. So we're watching the Lord speak through his events, through the things that he's doing. Like when you're involved in a secret plan, and you set up events to happen. You say, okay, look out for, I don't know, the flashing light in the second building. When you see that, it's a message, right? When you see that, that's the signal to say, okay, now go and get in your position. And when you hear the loud boom, like in the book of Joshua, right? When you or maybe no, it was in the book of Judges, right? When you see the city smoke go up in fire, then you turn around and attack them. So actions can also be like words. You can communicate through actions and events. So the Lord communicates with us through the events of prophecy, because he has told us what to look out for, and he's told us what to do when they happen. So when he starts doing that, that's telling us, okay, start getting in position, start getting ready, because this is what's about to take place. So that's when he says, I will watch to see what he will say unto me. That's what we're doing by watching these signs of the times. Go ahead.
And the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables.
Yeah, and that was one of the main forms in which the prophets of old received messages. It was through visions. Okay, so they would see the things that would be about to happen, and as it says, make it plain upon tables. So write it down, transcribe it, because back then what they had, the tables were clay tablets, and that was one way of preserving information, like a plaque. And then you would inscribe inside of it information if you really wanted to preserve it. And that would usually be for things that were like announcements, or legislations or rules that needed to be put in a public place. Go ahead.
That he may run that readeth it.
Mm-hmm.
For the vision.
And in our stead, we're making haste. Because in the ancient world, you would have messengers or couriers, and they were known for being very fast. So when they received the message or when they saw it, their job was to actually run to deliver the message, okay? So that everybody would know what's going on over there. And we also do that too. Because what happens when we're on the watchtower? When we're there, you see a article, maybe a brother might accidentally, instead of keeping it to himself and doing a video on it first, he might throw the article in the chat, not knowing that I'm in the chat. So when he does that, I'm going to see it. And before he knows it, I'm already going live, So by the time he gets on the video, he's hearing me say shalom, and I'm ending the video because I done already jumped on it. And that's okay.
I can witness to that. I was in school playing the chat. 2 hours after school, come back home. I see a whole lesson done on Sunday. I saved in the chat I left it there so I can't forget it. I come back home and it's already done.
Well, that was the last time he ever posted an article in the chat, But the point is, we on the watchtower, right? So the second you see something good, you jump on it, And when you jump on it, you running. You're making haste to let everybody know what the alarm or the announcement is, And that's the spirit that we got to be in. In fact, it says that in Isaiah 62:6. Yeah, got it. So that's the spirit you got to be in. That's a messenger that the Lord wants. Matter of fact, the Lord might say, you know what, this is usually where you get your messages from, but you got to be that kind of messenger that's always on the lookout. So while the Lord is preparing the message, you're already reading it, and you are spreading the word out there. Because look, the reason we're so informed is not just because of 1 or 2 or 3 people. It's because there's a body, and you have brothers that are constantly watching. Okay, brothers are constantly watching in different time zones, different times of the day, looking at different sources, having different testimonies, living in different countries. So we have literally like eyes and ears everywhere. And so we're always informed as to what's going on, because this is what we do. But you got people in the world that, that's why it's so shocking sometimes. You're like, wait, you didn't actually hear about that? They're like, no, I don't know what's going on over here. because their minds are isolated from reality. Got it.
But they know about Diddy and 50 Cent.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. They're crazy. They're definitely gonna know about that. That's their breaking news. You know, social media is their prophet. Got it.
Isaiah 62:6. I have set watchmen upon thy walls, O Jerusalem, which shall never hold their peace day nor night.
You see that? Watchmen, watchmen. So who are the watchmen that the Lord said? The prophets. And they're not gonna hold their peace day nor night. And that's why the Lord set it up to where, yeah, you got majority of the prophets here in Babylon, but you got prophets all around the world. So when it's daytime in one place, it's nighttime in another, right? And guess what? Since we're daily doing the work, it's all. If you were somebody that never slept, you there will always be videos to watch. In fact, what you'll start to see is, you end up watching fewer and fewer videos nowadays because there's so many videos. You may put one video in the watch later to say, I'm gonna come back to it because I'm watching one right now, and then before you know it, you forget about it because it's like 3 or 10 other videos coming out. And now you like, damn, well, which one should I? You know what? Let me just look at the title. So that's why nowadays, you'll hear, brothers, you'll be doing a response to that ain't okay. You'll be doing a response to a video and you ain't even watched the video. You just saw the title or the first 2 minutes because you already know where it's going. But you can't afford to really watch all 50 minutes. The spirit might jump on you, so you might do the video and then come back and then watch the video, and then see some more interesting things, and then come back and do another video.
Watch it start to speed.
Yeah, watch at 2x speed, and then do lessons within lessons. Yeah. But more on that?
Yeah.
Just finish that real quick, and then you got it.
Isaiah 62:6. I have set watchmen upon thy walls, O Jerusalem, which shall never hold their peace day nor night.
Mm-hmm.
Ye that make mention of the Lord, keep not silence.
Right. So we ain't gonna hold our peace, right? And we're the ones making mention of the Lord. In fact, in every video we make mention of the Lord, right? And so we cannot keep silence. And the Lord made it that way because He embedded that in our spirit. If you're a true messenger, it's gonna be within your spirit. You cannot be silent. I remember we were talking about that, and I always used to say this, man. And this is like if you actually tried, if you consciously tried to do this, you would realize that it's impossible to go. And this is a long time, but to go 24 hours without thinking about Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai or anything related to this truth, it's impossible to do. It's like a psychological embedding, like it's innate, because you'll do it without even realizing you're doing it. Somebody sneeze next to you and brakata, oh shit, yep, there you go. You can't help it. Something good happens, oh, there you go. It's literally within you. That's your go-to, that's your instinct. And that's the way you should be. Okay? So when it says we're not gonna hold our peace day nor night, we ain't. When we wake up in the morning, the number one thing, like there's a goal that has to get done before the day is over. Right, and that's the first thing you're thinking on your mind. All right, how am I gonna get this done? Okay, cool. And once that's done, then all right, cool. Now, if the day was over, I'm good. I've done what I'm supposed to do, and that's the mindset you got to be in. You got to be apt to teach. That was it on that. Got it.
Wisdom of Solomon 7:27. In reference to something you said earlier. Wisdom of Solomon 7:27. And being but one, she can do all things, and remaining in herself, she maketh all things new. And in all ages entering into holy souls, she maketh them friends of the Most High and prophets. And that's the wisdom. The knowledge, wisdom, and understanding enters into you. It makes you friends of the Most High, and it makes you a prophet. And like the brother's been saying, you're going to declare the things beforehand. You become addicted to it. Just like a dope fiend, he's addicted to certain things. We're addicted to the truth. So every time we put these lessons up or come to camp or read the scriptures, it's like we're getting a fix, and if you don't get that fix, you start to bug out,
Righteousness.
In righteousness, you know what I'm saying? Righteous example, because everything, you see things in the world, you could use it for an example,
right?
That's how the scriptures are, certain examples and things like that.
Yeah, you start looking at other brothers' plates, What you looking at over there? You know.
Yep. He's got something cooking in the kitchen over there, and it's all good.
That's
So
it.
you're gonna start hovering around like the cartoons where you just start floating.
Yeah.
The pie smoke is going out the window, and you just start floating to the window.
Yep.
That's how we are to the truth, man.
You might need to jump on a live with them. Share that meal.
Exactly.
You know, and that's good. You know, because I got you, bro. You got two sides of the spectrum, right? You got some individuals that are on the other side where it's like you gotta damn near beat them with a belt to get them to do the work. You know, to get up and do it. And then you may say, okay, well maybe this brother's super busy. No, he ain't. He ain't that busy. You know, because and man, can you imagine this? If you were the type of individual who you don't really do much with your time, but when it comes to doing the work of the Lord, you're always busy. You just there, you know. And if the Lord was to like look at you, you know, and catch you off guard where you can't see him, he just see you just sitting there idly, you know, just there, like there, not really doing shit. And when it comes to doing the work, that's when you remember all the things you got to do, bruh. But then you got on the other side of the spectrum, you got to damn near pull the person off of the computer so they can stop. Even though you really should, you should let them keep going. But, you know, I'm just exaggerating it to show the two sides of the spectrum, you know, which is all a balance, right? The Lord said that he gave everybody a different measure. But that's if you are truly passionate about something, that's going to be where your mind is. That's going to be where your heart is, right? That's going to be what you want to do. And that's going to be what excites you. All right. So if this truth excites you, you're going to do the things without somebody having to tell you, right? Nobody got to tell you, yo, you know, you got to find woman. You should do something with that. Who? Look, nobody got to tell you that. You know, you see a fine woman, you going to tell yourself that, yo, I got to, you know, let me see what's going on over there. Right. Let me go and talk to her and, you know, and see how she's doing and yada, yada. You're motivated in itself to go and see what she about. So when it comes to this ministry, you got to keep in mind that this ministry comes above all of that. All right, because you're serving Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai. And the Most High doesn't disappoint. Never. Even if you dead, if the Lord said, I'm gonna give you something and you died, he gonna bring you back to life and give you that thing. You know? If the Lord said you ain't gonna die until this, you ain't gonna die until this. You can literally drink poison and you'll be all right.
Hey, a prime example is a promise he made unto Peter and the disciples, right? He said, ye that follow me in the regeneration, ye shall receive everything 100-fold. Like everything you forsook on this side, you're going to get. So don't worry about, even if you pass away on this side, wait till the next side, like the real deal. Like if you wait here, you're not getting nothing until the kingdom come. So even if you pass away now, the goal is to get to the kingdom. Once we get to the kingdom, all of this is over. It's going to be resolved. Like the Lord already got everything set up before we get there. Right, that's why it's written that it is our Father's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. Like it's when you create as men, that's just how we are. When you in the midst of creating something, you can't wait for other people to actually use it because it shows you like, yo, what I did. Like just seeing the facial expressions, like wow, like that's amazing. You thought about all that. How did you do it? Like it could have taken a long time. Like it shows the hard work and the determination and the ambition, right? Not to give up in order to create this masterpiece for others to enjoy it. You know, even when it comes to food, you know, brothers not able to cook, brothers step it up and they watching to see how's your reaction. Like, oh, he eating, how's he biting the food? Like he's watching all that. Yeah, exactly. He's peeled in, you know, and in a few minutes you come, hey, how that tastes? Like, what you think about that, right? Because it's like I carefully engineered this. So it's gonna be the Lord's great pleasure to actually see us enjoy. Like imagine that. All our children, all children's children, and then every generation comes around and they're like, yo, that's crazy. Like, damn, I can't believe this. Like, and it gets better and better and better. Yes. All right. But I want to make a quick point, a quick precept, actually. Going back to Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, in regards to running, the men that run, who read the scriptures, right? And it goes back to, like you were saying, it goes back to an ancient custom. And a prime example of that is right here in the book of 2 Samuel, chapter 18. Start from verse 19 says, then said Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok, let me now run and bear the king tidings, how that the Lord Yahweh hath avenged him of his enemies. Okay, so it was an emergency. Like anytime you saw somebody run, especially when you were in the castle or at home and the watchman saw the man running, they knew that, oh shit, something's going on. What do I, let me hear it. It's the same thing that we're here today. Like we're carrying the word, the message, and we're running, meaning we're proclaiming it. And people, the elect are like, oh shit, what's that? Let me hear. What's the Lord saying? What's the Holy One got to say for us? But those who are not paying attention, they're like, they don't even see the men that are running. They don't even know that there's an emergency going on. Everybody's up and, oh shit, who's that? Are they coming? Do they bear good tidings or not? Every time you saw the prophets, that was the first thing everyone asked. Do you come peaceably or not? Because the Lord has sent you. So why are you here? What's the word that the Lord has for us? Okay. So it says here, verse 20, and Joab said unto him, thou shalt not bear tidings this day, but thou shalt bear tidings another day. But this day thou shalt bear no tidings, because the king's son is dead. Then said Joab, what's that? Oh, then said Joab to Cushi, go tell the king what thou hast seen. And Cushi bowed himself unto Joab and ran. Then said Ahimaaz the son of Zadok yet again to Joab, but howsoever, let me, I pray thee, also run after Cushi. And Joab said, wherefore wilt thou run, my son, seeing that thou hast no tidings ready? Right? So where you gonna go? Like, you ain't got nothing to say. Why you gotta go run over there? For what? Right? He says, but howsoever, said he, let me run. And he said unto him, run. Then Ahimaaz ran by the way of the plain and overran Cushi, right? Because Cushi was going through more of a difficult path to get the message to the king. Ahimaaz was like, I'm gonna go a easier way to get there faster. So he ended up overrunning Cushi, who set out before him, right? Who ran before him. It says, and David sat between the two gates, and the watchman went up to the roof, right? The watchman up on the roof, because they're on the watchtower, right? Of the roof onto the wall, and lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, a man running alone. Okay? You see all the dust and shit, you hear him screaming, and you're like, oh shit, what the fuck? What's going on? Right? It says, and the watchman cried and told the king, and the king said, if he be alone, there is tidings in his mouth. And he came apace and drew near. And the watchman saw another man running, and the watchman called unto the porter and said, behold, another man running alone. And the king said, he also bringeth tidings. Okay, so it was a known thing. When you see a man running, he was bringing tidings, right? So in this case, oh shit, right? In this case, we are the ones in the stead of these men who are running to go give the word to King David, all right, in regards to Absalom dying. Okay, so we're in the same stead as those men back then. That's what it means in Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, as he that readeth and may run. Okay, you're carrying the message in haste. All right, you're not dilly-dally. Didn't say he's gonna walk or he's gonna crawl. He's gonna be doing monkey branches and shit, taking his sweet time. No. It says he's gonna run, meaning you're doing it in haste. It's an emergency. Okay. It says, and the watchman said, methinketh the running of the foremost is like the running of Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok. And the king said, he is a good man and cometh with good tidings. And Ahimaaz called and said unto the king, all is well. And he fell down to the earth upon his face before the king and said, blessed be the Lord power Yahweh, which had delivered up the men that lifted up their hand against the Lord, against my lord the king. Okay, so just a quick, rundown of an account of the concept of a man running to deliver a message. In this case, it applies to the prophets. The prophets are in the stead of those men who are back there carrying the message to what? To deliver to ultimately the elect. Okay, but your brothers got it.
That's right. So where we at with it?
Let's be Solomon 7.
Oh yeah, you can finish that, yeah. And then get that problem. Picture.
Wisdom of Solomon 7 and 28. For the Most High loveth none but him that dwelleth with wisdom.
Yeah, look at that. The Most High loveth none but him that dwelleth with wisdom, because wisdom comes from the Lord. So when you dwell with wisdom, that's a sign to the Lord that you are obedient. You're one of His. You're not like the rest. Go ahead.
For she is more beautiful than the sun, and above all the order of stars. Being compared with the light, she is found before it.
Yeah, man. Look, a lot of people underestimate the power of wisdom because they don't know how to apply it. They don't have it to apply. It takes wisdom to know how to apply wisdom, right? And when you actually, apply wisdom in your life, you realize just how different of a life you live than others. Okay, when all you got to do is just think. Some people just don't. They're like, what's that chick name? Sukihana. I don't think. I just do. Focus on right. They're like her. They don't think. But think about how much better the world would be if people actually stopped and thought of things before they did. If they actually thought through things before they actually went and did it. How often do people run up into something and then halfway through they realize, oh, damn, I should have taken this because that would have been real helpful. You know, you ran full speed. You're gonna come and unscrew the tire. You forgot the jack. How did you think you were gonna unscrew the tire? You know, oh, I just thought that I didn't think. See, but once you apply wisdom, and that's why the Lord loves those that are with wisdom. Also, because in order to attain that wisdom, you got to go through those crooked paths. You got to be worthy. You got to have been proven to the Lord for the Lord to say, okay, here you go. So if the Lord sees you with wisdom, He knows you're a man approved, a rabbi approved pup. Got it.
After this cometh night, but vice shall not prevail against wisdom.
Hmm? Thought I was on that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, after the sun sets, like you said, basically wisdom continues out throughout the night. Even when the sun goes down, we still have the wisdom. Sit downs at night.
Mhm.
The Sabbath sanctuary, the sun goes down and then brothers, start going. Even when we go to sleep, there's brothers on the other side of the world that's speaking the truth.
Right.
So even in the beauty and splendor of the sun and all of the constellations and the stars, the Lord said that wisdom is before all those things.
Yeah, let's get that because you mentioned earlier too about being addicted to these things, and you got to be addicted to these things in order to truly labor and do the work of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. You got to be addicted to this work. Okay,
So this is the prologue of Ecclesiasticus, and it reads, "This Yahushai was the son of Sirach."
and that Yahushai is not Yahushai Hamashiach. Okay, that's just a name, which in the here they probably have it as Jesus, but in the Hebrew it's Yahushai. Go ahead.
and grandchild to Yahushua of the same name with him.
Mm-hmm.
This man therefore lived in the latter times, after the people had been led away captive,
Mm-hmm.
and called home again, and almost after all the prophets. Now his grandfather Yahushua, as he himself witnesseth, was a man of great diligence and wisdom among the Hebrews.
And you notice that usually goes hand in hand, diligence and wisdom, because you got to work for it. You got to work for it. Anything that you acquire, a skill or whatever, you got to work for it. Hey, even people that play video games professionally, they work for it. They spend hours playing video games. Look, what's interesting is when you see those professional players when they go to tournaments and they play these games professionally, playing games is not a thing of leisure for them. It's actual work. It's work that they got to do. You may think because you play games as leisure, so you may think, oh, they're just having fun all the time. No, because what you don't see is when you play games and you get tired of playing the game, you're like, whatever, I'm done. I'll come back later. They can't do that because they're not playing for fun. They're playing to get good so they can go and win money. So now they got to turn it from a leisure activity to something that they have to dedicate themselves to do.
I just want to say, like a couple years ago, when I wanted to get better at Destiny, I had to use an aim trainer. It's just basically a place where you go and practice your aim. That shit was so uncomfortable, mad tedious. And they told me an hour a day. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh, nah, never mind.
There you go. So whatever it is that you want to get really good at, you have to put in work, right? You have to dedicate time, right? Energy, effort to do it. You got people that spend hours learning how to tap dance, and they up there doing the click clack on the ground with the shoes and shit. They got special shoes for that too, And to you only see the part where it's entertaining for you, So you don't really see how much goes into it. But all of these things, even the things that are like the Apostle Paul mentioned for a corruptible crown, all of those things require hard work, right? They require labor. They require hours and hours and hours of time and dedication. Now you got to ask yourself this, right? You gonna let some Edomite, some tap dancing, frail Edomite, be more diligent than you? Think about it. In his mind, he practices. He's always in that dance gymnasium, tap dancing his feet off every single day for hours, right? just so that his glory is he can go and perform before people and he can do a good performance and they can look at it and they can say, oh, wow, clap their hands and say, oh, he was good. That's why he does that. Blood, sweat, and maybe some tears, right? He does all that. Now you got to ask yourself, the thing that you are getting, the glory that you are in this for, is not people clapping their hands and then saying, wow, that was a good performance, like some 30-second or 2-minute performance. That's not what it's for. The glory that we're fighting for is literally everything that anybody could ever want in all of existence. It's the highest position in all of existence under the Most High and His Son. That's the glory that we're fighting for. So how do you sit here and be comfortable letting some Edomite tap dancer put more diligence and more work in than you, who are commissioned of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai? Do you mean to tell me that Edomite's motivation for his glory is greater than your fear for Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai to do his work? Because that's, if you look at it in that sense, that's what you're saying. If you're not being diligent and you let him put in more work than you, then that's pretty much what you're saying to the Lord. That Lord, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna do it, but he who's doing it for a corruptible crown, he's doing better than me. The Lord might say, well, shit, if he was an Israelite and I threw him in here in your stead, he might put in more work than you. You know why? Because it's not necessarily about what he's doing. It's about the mindset he has to do it, right? It's the mindset that, you know what? I really want this thing. And because I really want it, I'm willing to go all out for it. No matter the situation, no matter the cost. And the Lord will see that and say, all right, I'm going to take somebody like that and I'm going to put them in here. And I'm going to take you out of here. Now you can go tap dance. Where we at with it?
So,
Yeah, you got it.
just to add on to Colossians 3:22, servants, obey in all things your masters according to the flesh, not with eye service as men pleasers, but in singleness of heart, fearing the Most High. And whatsoever you do, do it heartily, as to the Lord and not unto men.
There you go. Do it hardly as to the Lord and not unto men. Because ultimately, it's the Lord that commissioned us to come and do this. So you got to show yourself, approved to the Lord, not the men.
And it reads, knowing that of the Lord ye shall receive the reward of the inheritance, for ye serve the Lord Hamashiach. So basically everything we do is serving the Lord. Even when basically what the scripture is saying is be a good employee,
That's it.
so that the ministry be not blamed, so that you can have a blameless reputation. And ultimately what you're doing it for the Lord. You're not doing it because you want to impress your boss. You're not doing it because you want to get it, brownie points. If that's a side effect, then cool. But ultimately you're doing it because you serve the Lord, man. And the brother mentioned tap dancing. Oftentimes when you apply diligence to one area, it'll leak into other areas of your life. If that's just the mindset you have, like a good dancer could be a good boxer,
Right.
because boxing is really just footwork, distance and different things like that, knowing how to move. Because you don't just sit there and just throw punches, you got to move around.
Right.
So, just like anything, if you apply diligence in one aspect of your life, well, I think Apostle Har may have said it, or somebody, another elder or apostle said it, that basically if you're diligent in this truth, you're going to be diligent in everything.
Right. Yeah. Because like you said, it transfers. Transferable skills. And yeah, when you read a lot, it transfers. When you speak, when you teach, it transfers. So now you become better at explaining things. You become better at small talk. You become better at speaking to people. So all of these things, and also discipline. You get so used to being disciplined that you're able to easily transfer that into other things that you do. But that's something that this world doesn't teach. That's why we had to renew our minds, right? Coming into this truth, because this world doesn't teach that, And so when this time of hardship comes about, eventually it's gonna get to the point, there's that cycle, right? There's a cycle of what's that? Good times create weak men create hard times create strong men create good times, right? Roughly paraphrasing, you have that cycle. But eventually, if the times get bad enough and the men get weak enough, what you'll notice is the strong men 20 years ago, when they come back again, when the cycle comes back again, the strong men now are weaker than the strong men before. Because the times get weaker and weaker, right? The good times get better, right? The weak men get weaker. So of the strong men that will come from them, they will be of a weaker, status. It's like today. We're technically strong men, right? Because we're in the stead of the strong men of old, but we're actually weaker than the men of old because the world has become weaker, right? Through age, through the management that it's been being ruled under, the world has become weaker. So in this time, that majority of the world is the weakest. This is when the Lord is going to bring the strongest plagues. See, if the Lord brought the plagues that He's going to bring this time in the ancient world, they still wouldn't have survived it. How much less for the people here and now? That's why it's titled "Welcome to Hell." They're about to put you through saw games. Mentally, physically, spiritually. They're going to twist every limb, and it's either going to be you succumb or you don't. And if you don't, and you don't have the Spirit of the Lord with you, then you ain't. It don't matter if you succumb or not. You ain't gonna make it. And that's what people fail to realize, and they fail to think about. We're not always gonna be out here. The prophets of old, yeah, they were out there for a long time, but they weren't out there forever. And we're not always gonna be out here. And the scriptures tell you that the word of the Lord is precious in the times when it's rare, right? When people the Lord doesn't speak to people by vision or by prophets or by oracle. Then they become desperate. They want to hear what the Lord has to say. That's what He's going to do in this time. That's what the the famine of the word is. But we're going to be all right because we got the word. If we didn't, how would we come and teach you? So if the Lord says, all right, no more going out there to teach, we just say, all right, Lord, if that's the order, then that's the order. Now, you out there who have been joking around, what are you going to do? How are you going to make decisions? When that time comes and they present that thing to you, it'll be like it's a movie, with how casual it is, but at the same time how major it is. Where you're actually in there witnessing this, and they're making announcements. All right, soon they're gonna be transitioning onto this. Soon it's gonna be here, and then the soon eventually gets here. You guys, like they say, time is the only no, change is the only constant in life. So before you know it, the prophecy of the MOTB is gonna be here, and you're gonna be living in a time with it. And you're going to know that there are people who have gone and received it. Just like there are people who went and took the Vanessa. You know that now it's rare to see people who haven't taken the Vanessa. When you talk to the majority of people, if they ask you and you're like, no, you ain't never took it, they're going to look at you like, oh shit. Like, whoa, how? By now, pretty much everybody would have got it. So soon enough, you're going to see majority of the people, and they're going to go about living their life. You're going to see them walking with their carts, right? You're going to see people driving to work. You're going to see people going to work. Even the work is going to start to change, but you're going to see people in there. And they're going to be certain cities that when you go into, like over here in New York, you don't really see it much, but there are certain countries where they got Waymo, which is a company that deals in driverless cars. So when you go to certain states, and when you I said countries, when you go to certain states and you order like a Uber, it'll come with like it's a car without a driver, and it just comes, and the steering wheel moves by itself and everything. And you get there, and it opens, and you sit in, and it takes you where you gotta go. When you see that here, you're like, oh shoot, what's that? But over there, they're used to it. So they're gonna be areas where you go, and you're gonna see people. They go to the entrance. Like it's a key card. They just scan their hand, beep, the door opens, and then they hear the AI voice, welcome, blah, 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 whatever your name is. And then they go, You're going to start seeing stuff like that very soon. And it's, once again, they're going to like normalize it. Because if everybody's doing it, it doesn't seem like a big deal, right? Everywhere you go, that's the norm. That's the way you live now. You get your credits, right? You get your little, your C-HIP, you go, you get an implant. They'll tell you it's quick. It's quick. You don't got to worry about it. You just go. It's like an injection. We just wipe your hand. Boop, there you go. And now you all set. And now look at all the access you can have. You don't got to wait in long lines. You don't got to pay fines when you go to travel. They might tell you can't even be in economy or business. You got to be in or whatever. You got to be in the lowest. Matter of fact, put them in the cargo deck. That's the only space we got for you.
The wheels come out for the plane.
Yeah, you got
up in there.
You're hanging on the wheels of the cold ass wind and shit. And they're gonna start doing that because that's their coercion tactics. They'll tell you, oh, you want a flight to a vacation, you want to go to DR? Well, we prioritize those that have this form of payment first. So if after that, if anything is left, then we're gonna process yours. And they're gonna consider you like a loose seat. So even if you got a seat, somebody comes with a higher priority, they're gonna give that to them and tell them, I'm sorry, we have to give it to such and such.
Yeah, they said it not too long ago that they want to make the airplane, the Airbus as they call it,
Okay.
into like an actual bus. Like their standing room. Like you just bought a ticket, you don't have a seat, you just stand up.
That's crazy.
And then like obviously people that have that thing up in them, the Karagma, they're gonna have priority. And then you go after so many flights of you standing around, you'd be like, shit, man, I might as well just do it like the rest of them, because look at how they living. They got all of the perks, you know. He's gonna incentivize it so that it's gonna be like, oh, everybody that got it, they chilling, and you over here standing in what is it, coach?
Yep. Yep. And you ain't gonna like it. Oh, I thought you said something. Yeah, you ain't gonna like it. But guess what? You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah. I had a quick precept. You were making a point about how eventually these people going to be looking for the word of the Lord and not going to find it because we're going to be in the time of the famine of the word, right? Everything is going to be policed. That's where you're going to see shit really pop off, right? There's a book of Ezekiel chapter 3 and verse 26. It says, "And I will make thy tongue cleave to the roof of thy mouth, and thou shalt be dumb, and thou shalt not be to them a reprover, for they are a rebellious house," right? So the time for you to receive your reproving, all right, will be over at some point, right? And like Bakar was saying, the Lord not gonna have his prophets out here forever, right? Just milking out time. And like Bakar used to say, he say, if it was left to these niggas, we'll be prophesying till we're old and sitting in wheelchairs, still going out there prophesying, you know. But the Lord is not going to have that happen, because when you read the book of Revelation, the first chapter, it goes into how it says that the mystery that the Lord gave, the revelation that the Lord gave to John via an angel, all right, to show him things that was shortly must come to pass, right? Shortly must come to pass, meaning from the time that it was given to the time that these things will be fulfilled, in the grand scheme of things, it's going to be a very short time, right? In the eyes of the Lord, 2025 years is nothing. That's only 2 days, okay? That's only 2 days. But for us, it's 2,000 plus years, okay? So in the grand scheme of things, it's a very short time. From the time the prophecy was given to the time that it fulfills is a very short time. And then when you look at it, when it says shortly, you can also look at it in the sense of some of these prophecies, when they take place, they're going to happen in such a quick fashion, in quick succession. All right. Within the span of we're looking at what? Within the span of damn near was 100, about 100 years. All right. Or so you've had World War I, World War II, and now you're about to get to World War III. Okay. Within a span of 100 years. When you think of the earth being around for what was 11,000, 12,000 years. And now you're looking at 100 years, just a quick century, right? All these things taking place. And these are world changing events. Okay. World war is not a thing that's like, oh, a civil war and then the country stays or a different. No, it changes the whole dynamics, how money works, how countries have relationships with each other, how trade works. Okay. How the military works, how your laws govern yourselves work. All these things change when you have a world war. Okay. So what like they call the climate changes, yeah, that's what happens when you have a world war. And quite literally, the climate will change after World War III. That's why the elect are going to have to get beamed up and taken up off the earth, because the whole earth is going to be on fire, as in heat. America is going to be completely decimated, fire completely. The land of Israel is going to be completely decimated, but the result of it, right? You're going to be able to see the smoke from miles away, okay? You're going to have them documenting it on TV. People are going to be watching. It's going to be a big, big day, big, huge event. Okay, these other nations, they're going to feel it because you're going to have the earth quaking and millions of people are going to die based off of that alone. Okay, the radiation alone. Now, one thing that this was years ago, and I was looking into the wind patterns, all right, of Babylon. And I'm going to have to go back and refresh my memory on it because it's been so long. But in essence, what the Lord did was he set up the winds, right? So the winds that blow from east to west. So you have the east wind and then the north wind, south wind, and I believe the west wind, and they all blow into each other. So the west wind is blowing inward, inland. The east wind is also blowing inland. The north wind is blowing south, and then the south wind is blowing up north. So when you have that fire, that conflagration that happens upon American soil, right, whether Trump wants to believe this or not, whether Hexeth want to believe this or not, this is what's coming. Once America is nuked up and cooked up by the Lord, he's literally concentrating the fire on America, where it's not just going to blow over into a different part of the world. Nah, it's literally the winds are consolidated to American soil only, where it's literally like reverberating, right, within the land. So you got, whatever state you may be in, forget about it. You're going to be eviscerated upon impact. Okay, And then you have the after effects. You have the point of impact, and then you have the miles after that, and then the miles that goes outside of that, and then the radius and all the blast radius. Yo, this place is gonna be so cooked, it's not even gonna be a funny thing. Okay, and that's why it says here. Let's see if I can get that real quick. Okay, let me see here. Indignation, right? When you think of the concept of indignation, you think of the besom of destruction. All right, I believe it's in Isaiah 13. Let me get that real quick. Right, there's a book of Isaiah chapter 13 and verse 5. It says, actually start at verse 4. It says, the noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of the nations gathered together. The Lord Yahweh of hosts mustereth the host of the battle. Right, so you could be the head of NATO. You're not in charge of what's going to happen or the day that World War III is going to pick off where America is going to get nuked. You're not in charge of that. Okay, neither can you stop that. All right, the president of America, the king of Babylon, he's not going to stop that. As a matter of fact, it's written that he's going to be afraid. He's going to be frightened for what's going to be happening. That damn, even AI can't stop this shit. I thought we created AI to be some form of mitigation to the prophecy that's coming. How come it's literally gonna? What are we gonna do? That's why in 2nd Ezra it says, though they're afraid, yet there's fight, because they'll see quickly that they don't have a way out. Right? The Lord is going to box you all in. Remember, he's the master tactician. He's the one who's causing the war. You don't think he scouted everything? You don't think the Lord has angels scouting? Why do you think you always got these military bases where the so-called UFOs is always coming over there, man? Right? Fucking up with your shit. Why is that? They're always at those military bases and missile silos. Why is that, man? Okay? Why is that? All right? So verse 5, it says, Isaiah 13 and 5, it says, they come from a far country, right? Russia is a far country from America, okay? But they have missiles, even submarines that can go from, shoot a missile 5,500 miles from where they at. And that's going to land right here on American soil, man, okay? And they're not playing, all right? They're not playing. The Lord is not playing, okay? It says, they come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even the Lord Yahweh, and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. Okay, not part of the land, right? Not a piece of the land. Oh man, you got some Edomites over here that repented, Lord, so we're gonna keep that land open because we gotta take them, save them, and then they could be our slaves. Man, listen, bro. No, all right, no, that's not gonna happen. If you here on American soil, when the Lord come back and you're not beamed up, you're done. You're cooked. You out of there. You're gonna be a sayonara. We're gonna see you in the kingdom. When you gonna come back and you see your ashes, we're gonna be up there looking like, oh shit, that nigga got he out of there. And then in the kingdom, we're gonna see you as a baby pop out, and we're gonna be like, "Oh shit, yo, I saw you, bro. A missile, man. It was flattening your ass, boy. You was being some wicked ass nigga back then, huh? You see? But then they're gonna repent, come back, and so on and so forth. But if you have the other nations, you just gonna come back as a regular heathen, right? If you got daughters that look fine, you're gonna bring them over to us, right? And we're gonna make something out of them. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna be concubines that bring forth children of Israelites. Okay, but if you're not part of that, if you're not, in good standing with the Israelites, right, especially the elect, you're done, bro. It's gonna be a very difficult first 1,000 years for you. I tell you that right now. Okay, but you brother got it.
Right, that's right. And guess what? They're gonna find that out, like you said, the hard way. You know?
I was just thinking, like, because the brother's talking about Akah Assad, and I was just thinking about it. If you're saying that the other nations can make it, right? My bad for switching it like that.
They Spurs like to win.
And then all of a sudden, you say that the other nations can make it. Well, you're nullifying Obadiah, because if one Edomite makes it, he could just bring the rest back. Because if the others died, if you're saying that some can be saved and some can't, well, okay, some he saved and they get immortality. Okay, well then, when those die that didn't get it, they're just going to come through their loins and come back. So then you're nullifying Obadiah. And if you say the same thing for the other nations, Ham, Japheth, well, it's the same thing. They're just going to die and then come back. So what would be the Lord's point of making some perfect and some not, just for them to come back later and then they come perfect?
Right.
It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, according to him, he said if you watch the Apostle Hart's video on it, he basically said if you got a problem with the Gentile salvation or whatever, the Gentiles can make it doctrine, then you come talk to them. If you don't want to be on their platform live in front of everybody, which he would prefer, you could hit him up on the side. And the Apostle Hart was like, who the fuck are you? Why we gotta hit you? Hold on. Why we gotta hit you up for the wrong shit? Why? That arrogancy is hilarious, bro. Like, now we coming out with some wrong shit, which we used to teach before, We used to teach the right thing before. Now we're coming out with some wrong shit. But you got to come talk to us about it. You know, if you don't understand it, you can come talk to us. We can maybe sit down, we can explain it to you a bit. You know, we can go back and forth, bounce ideas off each other.
Hey, but you know what? The scriptures talk about filthy lucre's sake, right? This when the moment this shit popped off when they came out, you know how these niggas are snakes, bro. The Lord gonna destroy these niggas because when they first came out with that whole ass doctrine, the first thing they said was, "Oh shit, we might catch some heat for this," but and then they start introducing it little by little. I remember, man, I was when I first heard about this whole Gentile shit. This was like a couple of weeks ago, probably about a month now, maybe a little bit more. And I'm in a job in somebody's basement looking for shit, and I'm hearing it, and I'm just losing my mind. I'm like, I'm drilling the wrong holes. I'm pissed off and shit. I'm just like, what the fuck are these niggas talking about, bro? Like, it's so crazy. Like, where the fuck y'all niggas came from with this shit? You know, out of nowhere like that. And I remember he said the spirit right away. I was like, oh, you know what? It's because of money. They lacking on the bread, so now they got to switch up the doctrine to try to invite those, because you know you got a lot of people now fishing, right? Oh, the men of the Lord, Israelites, the Hebrew Israelites, all this, and it happened right after the whole Drewski shit happened, right? Because now everybody's like tuning in, like, oh, the Hebrew Israelites, everybody's talking about the Hebrew Israelites. Most of them is negative, but for the most part, it's a conversation that's being had, something that we didn't see a decade ago, okay? And I thought about it, I was like, okay, so now you got a lot of people who are popping out the woodwork and saying, well, you have this one brother that asked a question, I believe the elder Menachah answered, and he, going into a lesson, and he was saying how, so what's gonna happen to me? Like, my parents are, my mom or my dad might be white. What happens to me in that case? That kind of thing. So you have a lot of people who are tuning into the Hebrew Israelite doctrine, and they have questions, and that's why they're leaving these churches. A lot of people have left the churches, and they're getting all their information on YouTube. Okay, so YouTube, you go on YouTube and you type in all these questions, biblical stuff, you're going to run into the prophet some way, somehow. Okay, and then the controversy helps the situation because through the controversy, people are tuning in to see what is this all about, and then they hear it, and then oh shit, da da da. So then the real questions arise. Now, once the questions arise, you have those who are confused, those who are just hearing this for the first time, and it makes sense to them, but they're conflicted. You had Captain Tazaria speaking to this guy. He said he was an Italian man and that he strongly believed in what we're saying and all these different things. He said, oh, nah, you're a white man. You're not going to make it. Hold on. Wait a minute. You got to read the spirit by the spirit. Try the spirit by the spirit. See if he's one of us, right? You got to hit him with certain precepts, certain points. And if it makes sense and it resonates with him, okay, you have a chance. You keep growing and we're going to see how the Lord takes care of things from here. You see? But you can't just outright, oh, no, you're Italian or you're a white man. We don't deal with you. What the fuck? That's crazy. That is crazy work, right? But they have to make money. So now you got a lot of these so-called Christians converting or waking up to being an Israelite, and they're still coming with their bullshit of the Gentiles can make it. We can all be saved. So how great of a way to make money than to say, yeah, the Gentiles can make it. As a matter of fact, come pay us, and then we're going to teach you why the Gentiles can make it. And then they have this whole thing of, well, even if we are wrong, it's still kind of like, I'm saying, like, at least you're preaching that they could still make it rather than closing the door out on them. Nah, nigga, you got to close the door out on somebody who's not of the Israelites, especially if you're not of the elect. All right. And how are you going to tell? It's not based on you. It's based on the spirit. I'm going to tell you a few things from the scriptures. And if it resonates with you, then, hey, we could commune. We could speak. Right. As is written, can two walk together lest they be agreed? Right. So if I'm bringing out the word, the one thing that brings us all together, if you're of the elect, which is the word of the Lord, if I spit that to you and you reject it, I ain't got time. I'm not. We ain't nothing to talk about. Ain't nothing to talk about because this is precious to me. So if the Lord gonna put the spirit on me for me to talk to you about it, and you gonna shun it and push back and give me all this run around shit, hey, you know what? Hey, you believe what you believe. I holler back and I'm out. No need to stress about now. Hey, going back and forth doing debates, trying to prove a point for what? For what, bro? He not gonna get it. I'm not making money off of a nigga who can't get it, bro. Move on, do what you got to do, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? And then you focus on the elect. The main reason why the Lord sent us out here, right? But that's where you see the difference between the true prophets and those who are phonies. And they're not going to destroy them all. They're going to get rid of all of them because it's written that that's going to happen. Okay? But your brothers got it.
Yep. Tell them I say the point or something.
Oh no, I was gonna say, I believe it's something recent, like maybe a day or two ago. Hakai played a video of I believe it was Elder Apostle Rakai, how he was basically putting up a prayer of curse of pretty much may the Lord judge all these wicked niggas. And what's his name? Hakai is pretty much saying, see, we must be right. See, I see what he's doing. He's essentially trying to take what happened with Paul and saying how, oh, you see how when Paul tried to bring the Gentiles in, how they want him dead? Oh, you see what GMS is doing? That's what. So we must be right because we must. But ain't y'all the same ones that was criticizing Paul?
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, oh, you on Paul's side? But that's what I realized that they're doing. They're saying, see, the same way GMS is trying to saying we should die, it's the same thing you read with the Israelites want to do with Paul when you start bringing Gentiles in. So we must be right. That's a snake move to do, man. That's just hella. It just
I'll say this real quick. They too late with that. You know why? Because that ridicule and persecution already came upon the men of GMS, right? Starting with the elders and apostles on down, when they actually did it the right way, the same way Paul was doing. Because Paul was catching that slack wasn't because he was trying to bring in native Gentiles, because he was teaching that Israelites that were living like Gentiles could be saved. That's what started with our elders and apostles on down. They were teaching when they started talking about Cornelius and so on and so forth, and they got kicked out for that, right? And there was a whole controversy for that. So that lot is already filled, bro. You too late, and it ain't you. All right, it ain't you, because like you said, how you gonna try to spin that after you talking about what is it?
the word of God is not in the Bible, but the word of
The
God.
Bible contains the word of God.
Yes, dumbest shit I done ever.
And first you talk about, oh, you don't want to take heed to what Paul has, the Apostle Paul's words, right? Oh, it's not authentic and so on and so forth. But wait, now you're talking about you're in like instead of the Apostle Paul. What's going on here? Inconsistencies.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, just analyzing everything brother's been saying. You see how it's two opposite ends of the spectrum. ISUPK is extreme in the sense that you have sincere Israelite foreigners that's calling up, and they're shutting up the kingdom of heaven for them.
Right.
You know, so it's like that's you feel it fulfilling a lot of the wicked scribes and Pharisees. And on the other hand, you have Genesis that's saying, well, all heathens can make it. But you see how none of them are balanced?
Right.
We're giving you straight balance.
Right.
We're telling you salvation is only for Israelites, but Israelites are going to come looking like different nations. Plain and simple. The guy that's standing next to Zariat, his right-hand man, looks like he could be a heathen. But I can see he's a Jake just watching how he teaches and how he is. But how could you have that right next to you, but then you're going to deny somebody because they said that they're Italian? You're unspiritual. And then on the other end of the spectrum, these guys are unspiritual. And they scoffed against Paul and said that his scriptures are not even a part of the book. It's just added in there. You know, it's just good advice. No, it's scripture, man. As the other scriptures. That's why Peter said that they rest with Paul's words, man,
Right.
to their own damnation. And I had a precept here tying into it. 2 Peter 2:1. But there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privily shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Lord that bought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction.
Yeah, there you go. They're gonna bring upon themselves swift destruction. And that's the part that they're not seeing. And you know what? Why would the Lord make them see it? All right. If the Lord made them see it, they wouldn't bring upon themselves swift destruction. But the Lord is taking that oil away from them, and now He got them. Whether they're doing it deliberately or whether they're ignorant of the fact, it's still in the direction of the Lord bringing that swift destruction upon you. You know, that's it.
And many shall follow their pernicious ways.
Many, okay, many shall follow their pernicious way, because the ratio of the elect to the non-elect, like what did the angel tell Ezra? Like a drop to a wave. So many it's expected that you're going to have many people that fall to those pernicious ways.
And in the margin, it says lascivious, the unbridled lust, man. And they have a lust. Now, lust doesn't just deal with sexual things. Lust can deal with your greed and lust for money or power or whatever it might be.
Yeah, I was gonna say also with them taking that, trying to do that trick with, oh, you see, because they're praying for us to die, you're praying to put up curses on us. We must be like, doing the right thing because that's what Paul was dealing with. Excuse me. Essentially, to people who are new, that can easily trick them. Because now it's like, oh, well, like to people who don't know anything, it's like it seem like, oh, that must be true. Because yeah, Paul went through that. You guys are going through that as well. Because yeah, you did bring up the history, but some people don't know that history. So people who are new are going to fall into that trap and not know any better.
That's what they wanted anyway. They wanted that attention. But they got it. But trust me, Korah, Dathan, and Abraham, they got attention. So much so that it sent them straight to the core of the earth.
They might have really went all the way down.
Yeah, they probably still fall until now. That's a joke.
Second Peter, they gonna clip that part.
Yeah.
The whole video.
Oh yeah, bro. See, brothers teaching is the hell now.
Documentary. You looking all angry in the video. They screen capture the part where you look crazy.
Yeah, that's it.
Second Peter 2:2. And many shall follow their pernicious ways, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of.
Yeah, the way of truth is being evil spoken of. They're trying to flip it and paint good as evil and evil as good. What you're teaching is wrong. It's flat out wrong. You know it's wrong, and that's why you need all these extra things to try and make it sound like, oh, look. The doctrine speaks for itself. No, the fact that they're attacking us means that we got to be right. No, you're still wrong. You loud, wrong, proud, and wrong, and then wrong.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, maybe her thought is maybe sincerely just dumb. I could be wrong, but
That's the
Hakkad,
Romaine letters that been doing that to him.
but Hakkad definitely knows what he's doing. He has that face. Sometimes when he says something, he'll have that smirk. It's like you one of them that know you know exactly what you're doing, and you being a damn twat about it. You know exactly. Hakkad maybe. Sorry, I keep getting their names confused because they both have an H in it. Hakkad is the
Yeah,
okay, and then Hassad is the other one with the Romaine letter.
yeah.
Okay, he may be sincerely just an idiot, but Hakkad, he's the one that's really like he knows exactly what he's doing.
They know what it is. Assad is passively aggressively proud. That's what it is. You know, he's like that. Hey. Look, bro, at this point, if here we are in 2025, you mean to tell me all these years with do you know how many videos? I think probably one of the most talked about topics next to the MOTP is the topic of the mystery of the Gentiles. That's one of the most talked about. I mean, there are brothers who if you go on their page, that's all you're gonna see. It's only for Israel. It's only for Israel. It's only for Israel. And there are numerous precepts. This has been broken down so much that, you know what I'm saying, like you don't even got to break it down anymore. If after all of that, you coming out and teaching, this is how we know it's not like it's deliberate. You know what I mean? It's a cunningly devised tale to try and spin this joint on there. But it ain't going to work because we're not stupid. We're not gullible. Okay? We don't work that way. We know what we know and we believe what we believe through the Spirit. And we can see right through you. You know? You think, look, there's a reason why, you know, the apostles and the elders are reverenced the way they are, because even with us young men, right? When you do something for a while, you start to be able to gain foresight. You can see through things. You can discern better. How much more for men who've been doing it older than you? It's not that they're just older than you. They've been laboring for a period of time that's more, probably even 10 years more than you are alive, than you were alive on the earth. That means before you even knew how to walk, they were breaking down the mysteries of the scriptures, right? And you mean to tell me that they ain't gonna be able to see through you? Look, they could look at you and read you and know what kind of individual you are. All right, because the Spirit of the Lord is working with us. You know, so that whole like the slithering ways and all that, it's not gonna work. All right, it may work on those that are carried about with every wind of doctrine, but not over here, bro. The Lord is not gonna set us up as defenders of the gospel and give us a weak mind. No, we deal with logic. We deal with the scriptures, and we listen to every single word you say. So if somebody's trying to spin a tail on you, you know what they're gonna do? They're gonna try to run around, and look for an opening to slip something that does not belong there to help them come back and say, all right, boom, now we good. It's like if an officer who's a crooked cop wants to get something on you, he's gonna try to plant something in your car. Guess what? He needs that opportunity to do so. And the second he does that, now everything is all good. He's comfortable. That's what they try to do. They'll use so many words, so many, they'll go into the history, they'll go to this precept, they'll go to that precept, they'll go here. And what they're trying to do is find an opportunity to slip something that is off and is not scriptural in there so that they can now solidify and say, on this platform, on this basis, this is our point. And if you're not wise and you don't catch that point right there, you're going to be arguing at a disadvantage. You know, and that's what they think they're gonna do. It ain't gonna work, bro. You off, you wrong, and the Most High is gonna destroy you if you don't repent. And the way you going, you already halfway in the earth.
Okay, I was gonna say you also have two channels, GMS Vault, and then you got I believe it's GMS Archives 2, if I'm not mistaken, and they have the Gentile thing going through it, and it's old videos where they used to have the end of the world in the background. You could look those channels up, and it's like, yo, everything that you need is. I still go and watch it from time to time.
It's all in there.
Fundamentals, man. If you miss the fundamentals, you're missing basically everything. You have no basis and no foundation. I'm gonna read this last verse and give it up. Next, brother, it's 2 Peter 2:3. And through covetousness shall they with feigned words make merchandise of you.
Look at that. So it's nothing new. They were doing the same. So like they were doing the same thing back then, and they're making merchandise off of you. The second you heard that they were selling prayers and life coach advice and all of that, it's like, yo, bro, you already know what type of individuals these are. You know,
Whose judgment now of a long time lingereth not,
Mhm.
and their damnation slumbereth not.
There you go. So the Lord got to judge. You know what it is? When you look at how Yahweh Shem Yahushai works, before he brings a judgment, he basically he makes you guilty. All right, as crazy as it sounds, the Lord will make you guilty if he's trying to judge you. If he's looking for an occasion, he'll do that. Like with Samson, the Lord was looking for an occasion against the Philistines. Hence, he had Samson go and that's why I said, I want that Philistine woman. Go get her for me to marry. And then the father's like, yo, come on. You got 11 other tribes out here. You want me to go get a Philistine woman for you, bro? And he's like, I want her. And the scriptures say that it was because the Lord was seeking occasion against the Philistines. Because where did all that conflict start? It started when Samson went and dealt with that Philistine woman. And then everything, and then, they burnt her, and then everything went downhill from there.
From the top of the
Yeah, he burnt their whole field and all that.
side of the
The horses and the firebrand, yeah. Lit their shit up, you know? So that's what the Lord will do. He always sets things up. It said explicitly with King David. He saw an occasion against Israel to punish them, so he moved David to number them, and then they got that judgment on top of them for it. So when the Lord is trying to bring, because he could have had Korah, Dathan, and Abiram just be quiet and chill out, and just be lucky you are part of the congregation, but no, he put a spirit on them to want more. No, you're taking too much upon yourself. You ain't the only one. What you trying to say? Because he was about to bring judgment upon them. So, so guess what? With these guys out here, they're coming up in a new beginning. That's why they call themselves Genesis. That's basically telling you that no. The old way that was started, that's wrong. He on that Rehoboam spirit. No, we got to bring the young men. Like, who said that? There was some other Israelite, this guy. Damn. The guy who was so called himself exposing Al-Azhar. He was doing mad videos on him. I don't know if his name's Ariella or something like that. And he was doing all those videos on him. And he basically said, this is what's wrong with the system today, and the elders have misled the people, and so pretty much the Lord's raising up the young men. The young men got to come up there. No, he's not. Okay, yeah, he's raising up the young men, but how do you raise up the young men? You need elders, because who's going to teach them in the way they should go? You got people that come up here and they think that what I'm going to be everybody wants to be the exception. Yeah, I got you. I'm going to be the one guy who comes on the scene, and the second I come on the scene, it's different. I don't got to go through the conventional route. No. They've been men laboring before me. They're decades. No. Now I ain't going through that. I'm gonna come out here. I'm gonna say a few words. Everybody gonna be like, "Damn, that's so deep." We gotta raise this guy up. You know what I'm saying? He gotta skip the levels and put him straight to the top. We gotta follow this guy. He's the new leadership. Listen, bro. When you look at the story of Moses, the Most High got pissed off at Moses because he didn't want to go do it. Moses didn't jump on the front. He saw the bush. He said, "Oh Lord, it's me. Don't say no more. I already got it. You say you're gonna make me a leader over them, Lord. I'm already ahead of it." He didn't say that. He said, "Lord, please, you know what? After the Lord showed him all the miracles, he said, but you know what? Why don't you find somebody?" Lord's like, "Hey, my friend, look. See, now you're pissing me off." You know what I'm saying? I came all the way to look at the system, So when you look at all those men of old who the Lord raised up and put in those positions, the Lord chose who he wanted. What happened to Jonathan? When they told him, "Wait, don't do anything," he's done. I want to get a name for myself too. Judas ain't the only mighty one out here. And he went, and guess what? His dumbass went and fell under an elephant. And the elephant could have fallen any other way but straight down. You know what it takes for an elephant to die straight down? It could fall to the side. It could fall this way. The elephant said, "Oh, you stabbing me?" Nah, nigga. Jumped up, spread his arms and legs, and came right down on this nigga. You got it, bro.
I was gonna say the purpose of elders is to teach the young men the tradition, and then the young men are supposed to keep the tradition going. You're not supposed to, as a young man, supposed to want to make a new way and things like that. Now, everybody has their style, their flavor. You may do things a certain way to make it easier for you. But the purpose, the reason why the older men teach you the traditions, the way, is so that way you can keep it going. So that way, when you become the older man, now the younger men come underneath and you keep the cycle going. You keep it going from there.
Right.
It's not to make us, okay, forget what the elders taught us, put it to the side, we're going to make a new way. No, you keep the tradition going, as it says. Yeah, doing, man. Yeah, doing. You're doing good. Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. They passed the torch. But you know what? These guys said, no, we going to, you know what they're doing? They're offering strange fire on the altar. They didn't learn from what happened to the two sons of Aaron. You know, they're coming on here offering strange fire. And the Lord is very specific. The Lord don't deal with, look, the Lord don't deal with mistakes. You know why? Because the Lord is very specific. And he warned you ahead of time. This is what I require. So you better make sure if you do it, you do it right. So don't come out here talking about, Lord, I made a mistake, or Lord, that was an error. Why did you make that kind of mistake? It's a foolish mistake, but why did you make that? Because you weren't paying attention. You know, but these guys, they're paying attention. And they're seeking the preeminence over the men that the Lord has already set up. That's what it is. And all the time when they try to come, oh, we come out the apostles, the elders, apostles. You know, they try to come after the elders and stuff. Guess what? Spin all over the bread and shit. You got to move this nigga's face. Like, yo, bro, back up. You know what I'm saying? Go stand across the street or some shit. Yo, the apostles, you know. But whenever they come and do that, it's because they know these are the men that the Lord has approved. So they're like, oh, if I could top these men, I'm going to really be up here. You got it, bro.
That's the don't fool the master. Something. Yeah, no, I was gonna say, yeah, you're not supposed to outdo the master.
Yeah.
But also, that's the Corey Dathan and Abraham spirit embodied. You know what I'm saying? Like, and the scripture says that the Lord set up elders in all the different churches. So these guys just say things, and there's no scripture to back it up. It's just a vain euphemism that this dude came up with. Yeah, the young man. It might sound good to some imbecile out there, but it ain't true, man. All right, you got it.
Yeah. The apostles. Shout out to the elder Yashua. Yeah, I just got a quick precept because you mentioned about this whole Ariella guy, and we did say it when he first started exposing. We talked about it. We said, yo, even the spirit in which he's doing it is off, right? He's coming off real belligerent, you know, like you just got to be humble about it. You know what I mean? If you're going to expose a nigga for being a nigga, just bring out the work. Just bring out what he's doing, and where he's going off at, hit him with precepts and close it out. But no, nigga want to drag it out. We going to expose this nigga. He ain't right and all this. You knew he wasn't right this whole time, but you were still fucking with him. But now that he's being exposed, all of a sudden now you want to be, oh, I'm holier than thou, all this extra shit. You know, we're talking about the leadership is going to come through the young men. Who the fuck is you, bro? Who going to listen to you? Who the fuck is going to listen to you? Who you going to lead, bro? Huh? Let's read what the scripture says. This is the book of 1 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 5. It says, for if a man know not how to rule his own house, how shall he take care of the church of the Most High? Right? So if, like, it's like a shepherd. If you have your own flock, you can't take care of as a shepherd. When the Lord brings the whole entire nation's flock together, you're not going to be called in as a shepherd because he looks at your flock and he's like, they always get sick. They're always malnourished, right? They're not even breeding. The breeding is not even done right? You got to know all these things. You have to first know your personnel, okay? You have to know your animal. You have to know your sheep. Sometimes you got to know them so much so that you know whenever they bleat, you know exactly which one is bleeding, right? Bleat as in BLEETING. You got to know, you know, which one is which, right? Oh, that they're crying because there's a threat. Maybe there's a snake in the barn somewhere. Let me go in there and check because that kind of cry is shit. There's a danger going on, you know? Or maybe they're crying because they're hungry, or they're crying because maybe she's in labor or whatever. As a shepherd, you got to know all these things, which I highly doubt Ariella knows anything about that whatsoever. Okay. But it says here's the key. Verse 6, it says, not a novice, lest being lifted up with pride, he fall into the condemnation of the devil. Right. In other words, in order to be in that kind of position, right, you cannot be a new believer, because what happens is, as the scriptures tell you, that what knowledge puffeth up, right? Once you start gaining a certain level of knowledge, if you're not careful, it can get to your point. It can get to your head to the point where you become proud, and then the only thing the Lord's going to do is to humble you, and that's not a good thing. All right. You should always want to be like, yo, I want to be better. The knowledge you're getting isn't to be a lord over other brothers. It should be more of how do I better or benefit the brotherhood? Like, how do I learn something to teach other brothers that's going to benefit them? Right. It could be different life situations, different things that you may go through that a brother might not necessarily have to go through to learn a lesson. That's where you come in, right? The Lord deals with you. You go through a certain thing, whatever the case may be. It's called experience. And who better to learn from than the apostles? They've been through it. Like everything we go through in the truth, they've been through it multiple times. And they always say it. Oh, this isn't the first time. We've seen this many, many times. They've seen it many times, right? But then you have this new age clown. Oh man, the Lord is so humorous. You got this new age clown. He got like perm, like his long hair and shit. That's going off, right? He look a little chubby. Damn nigga, you got to get in shape, bro. You know what I mean? But you got all these different things. And then you have the audacity to come in here and just make these kind of bold statements like, bro, like you're speaking against dignities, and the Lord will always have to, he's going to require at thy mouth, right? Every idle word that man shall speak, they shall give account thereof in that day, right? So you out here just running off at the mouth, cursing out the apostles, speaking mad shit about brothers who are actually sincerely serving the Lord. You don't think the Lord's going to have some questions for you? And I guarantee you're not going to have no answers for that. That's why in Matthew 25, it says that they're going to be casted into outer darkness, right? There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth, because in their mind, they're serving the Lord, right? But who knows what they're doing behind closed doors? The Lord's going to expose all of that shit, all of that, all the deals you niggas signed, all the meetings y'all had, everything's going to be exposed. All right, Bitch Nate, he's going to be exposed. Sakari already got exposed. Where they at now? Right? Genesis is next on the chopping block. All these other groups that are not serving the Lord truly, when the time comes, the Lord going to do away with them. And hey, we're going to watch it and be like, that's what happens when you don't teach in the name of the Lord sincerely, right? You make a mockery of the Lord's word. This is what happens, man. And that's going to send a fear, right, throughout the whole entire nation, those who are actually in the know of what's going on. All right, that's going to set the tempo for how the Lord is about to be very, very brutal. All right, with the judgment that he's going to be setting out very soon, man. All right, but you brothers got it.
All right, where we at?
First Kings,
Got it.
just to show you how the Lord controls all these things, First Kings 22 and 19, and he said, "Hear thou therefore the word of the Lord." This is the prophet Micaiah speaking. "I saw the Lord Yahweh sitting on his throne, and all the host of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left."
Now, with him, right, they got mad at him because he would speak exactly what the Lord told him to say. Even to the point where the messenger who went to call him said, look, just come and say what everybody else is saying, please. And he said, no, I'm going to say what the Lord told me to say. And when he said it, the other dude got mad. He was like one of the leaders in the other prophets, and he came and slapped him. Yeah, he came and smacked him. Tell me which way the wind, where did the Spirit of the Lord leave me to come to you? Proud.
He said, "In that day you're gonna see when you hide in the inner chamber."
Yeah, yep. And guess what? That dude who did that, in his mind, he's thinking, oh, the Lord is dealing with him. Because the scriptures told us, we got the insight because we on the outside looking in, that they were all being misled and they were teaching the wrong thing. But guess what? In his pride, thinking, no, all of us are teaching the right thing and you saying the wrong thing, he went and smote a real prophet of the Lord.
What a clown, yo.
Yeah.
And then he ended up receiving that judgment. But the crazy thing is that the Lord made the counsel known. Like literally, I'm telling you what I'm about to do. That's how you know you're a good fighter, man. The dude that he calls the move, so I'm gonna get you with this and that. And you still gonna get got. And he's like, nah. That's how you know you're exceptional. You can say, yo, I'm gonna get you with this lock, that lock, or kickboxing, I'm gonna hit you with the round kick, and then I'm gonna 1-2 piece you up, and you're gonna be on the canvas. Why? If somebody tells you what they're about to do and they still catch you with it,
Just leave.
just stop. Just stop. But these guys didn't get it. And it's the same thing playing out now. We're telling you the Lord's playbook. It's not like some secret counsel no, it's out here online. It's on the internet. We're telling you, and you have a chance to repent, but we know you're not going to.
Right.
For the most of, if you're a false prophet, you're not going to repent. Plain and simple. If you have the elect, you will repent. That's up to the Lord. We don't know. But those of you out here that's on the path of destruction, the counsel's coming out. We're telling you, nah, it's Satan on you, man. That's not the right way. And then what do they come up? They do the same thing in the spirit. They're trying to smack us.
Right.
Y'all don't know what the fuck you talking about. Spirit is on me, not you. Okay, let's see what happens. Reading on 1 Kings 22 and 20, and Yahweh said, who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And one said on this matter, and another said on that matter. And there came forth a spirit and stood before Yahweh and said, I will persuade him. And Yahweh said unto him, wherewith? And he said, I will go forth, and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And he said, thou shalt persuade him and prevail also. Go forth and do so. Now therefore, behold, Yahweh hath put a lying spirit in the mouth of all these thy prophets, and Yahweh hath spoken evil concerning thee. But Zedekiah,
So the Lord could put a lying spirit on you, and in your mind, you're thinking that's a new revelation, you know, and it is because he's revealing lies to you, but you don't see that. See, you always gotta, you always gotta factor in external things as well. You know, when we heard this truth, right, and we learned the things that we learned, it made sense to all of us, right? It clicked. The same thing when we were taught what the name of the Lord is, when we were taught what the MOTB is, when we were taught all these things concerning the scriptures, it all made sense, right? So you got to keep in mind, if the Lord is teaching you something, it'll make sense to all of us in due time. All right. But if here it is, you coming out going from A to Z and then Z back to A, and it's clearly being shown to you that no, that's not, because you know what? It's the same thing that happened with Bishop, right? He at one point there's literally videos of him breaking down the name of the Lord, and then he goes, the spirit has him go back. So now where then there's also videos of him afterwards talking about the name of the Lord. I scorn when I hear those names. And he goes upon those names when he's sick, and then when he's healthy, he goes right back to it. See? So these guys, there's videos of them using the same scriptures that they're now trying to dispute to prove the very point that they're now trying to dispute. There's the lying spirit on them that they don't see. Or maybe they do and they accepted it.
pride is a motherfucker, man.
Yep.
Because it's literally being told to them, and yet they're still sticking to it.
Mm-hmm. Hey, well, like you said, right? That the Lord is telling them, this is what's going to happen to you. I'm going to hit you with this, that, and the third. And guess what? They're still getting hit with it.
Yep. It says, verse 24, but Zedekiah, the son of Hananiah, went near and smote Micaiah on the cheek, and said, which way went the spirit of Yahweh from me to speak unto thee?
And that's an interesting thing, right? Like with human nature, somebody can disrespect you and you might get angry. But when somebody puts their hands on you, it's a different kind of rage, especially if it's unwarranted. Like instinctively, it's a different kind. Like even if it's an accident, but you don't know it's an accident, your first instinct is like you get an adrenaline rush, and you ready. Like, yo, what the, like if somebody slapped you by accident, they didn't see, or they carrying Haran, because that's that time when your dog came with a stick, the big ass stick, and just wham right in your leg, and you ain't peep who's coming with it, with his big ass ears. You know what I'm saying? His brother out here like, yo, look. But instinctively, it's like, oh, yo, who the?
Yeah.
Look, you lucky you lucky that was an accident.
Yeah.
So when something like that happens and he comes and he just smites you, because look, man, given the setting, this guy Zedekiah, he didn't come on there on some like, who, what I'm saying, what you think you're playing with his beard and shit. He didn't come to do that. He smote him on some disrespect and some aggression.
It's an ancient slap.
Yeah, the ancient slap of disrespect. They real aggressive. That's real aggressive.
Look at how Micaiah reacted, though. I'm gonna read it, but like he didn't bug out. He didn't go crazy. I'm sure he was angry.
Mm-hmm.
Look what he says. And Micaiah said, behold, thou shalt see in that day when thou shalt go into an inner chamber to hide thyself.
And you know what? That shows you, man, the suffering of the prophets. Because the prophets often didn't get instant gratification. They didn't get instant satisfaction. Here it is, they'd be suffering instantly for the word of the Lord, but they have to wait. The Lord will tell them, yeah, I will judge them, but I'm going to judge them when the time of judgment comes. And it's like, damn, Lord, like I'm daily suffering at the hands of these people. They're punishing and inflicting me instantly, but I gotta wait. And that wait sometimes is like very, very, sometimes you want judgment instantly upon somebody. When they really offend you, you really want that, especially if it's somebody in the world. You gotta hold that and wait for the Lord to get them at the right time. And they have to suffer that. So when they tell you, that's it. When they tell you, like the the sufferings of the prophets, that's why they're gonna get rewarded as they are. Because we're all humans. Sometimes you get pissed, right? But we don't have the luxury of going wild and losing control like anybody else would. Because we gotta think.
I ain't gonna lie, he had a lot of patience, man. Because if one of these guys come up and do that to us, we probably gonna throw hands. To be honest, but Lord's will, we can contain ourselves. But I'm just saying, it's just nature of a man.
Right.
But Micaiah, and that shows the confidence he had in the Lord. Also, he was outnumbered too, so he was using wisdom. But
At least poke his eyes out.
yeah,
They
exactly.
gonna
If
beat
you
your ass.
come over here, you're gonna get your issue. I'm telling you that right now. But he had that confidence in the word of the Lord. He said, "You're gonna see in that day." That shows the level of faith. Because it was like, I'm not gonna try to get it back on you. The Lord's gonna take care of you, man.
Right.
It says, and this is what he had to deal with afterwards. It says, and the king of Israel said, take Micaiah and carry him back unto Ammon, the governor of the city, and to Joash, the king's son, and say, thus saith the king, put this fellow in the prison.
So he was already locked up. And Ahab had him locked up already. And the only reason he went and caught him was because of Jehoshaphat. And it's ironic that was his name, Yehoshaphat, because guess what? That was about to happen to Ahab. So after he gave the correct response, he said, send him back. Take him back to and it said, feed him with the bread of affliction.
Yeah, it's going to say it. Put this fellow in the prison and feed him with the bread of affliction and with water of affliction until I come in peace.
Yeah, so make his life hell in there. And guess what? He ain't never come back in peace. He came back in pieces, metaphorically speaking, because that was it for him. That's it. Where we at? But like you brought that out to emphasize the judgment of the Lord, but also how you had Micaiah, which was a prophet of the Lord, versus these false prophets. Same with Jeremiah and Hananiah, and all these other individuals. And the thing is, they don't learn. They don't ever learn because nobody ever wants to think that you're the one in the stead of the antagonist when you read the scriptures, right? No. It's always somebody else. Who's gonna come and say, "Oh yeah, I was in Antiochus," or I was the seven sons of Sceva, getting my ass beat so much my clothes ran off. The Apostle Rama was going into it. I was dying, man. He said the demon beat. He said the demon beat all their asses. And once he was done with the seventh one, then he allowed them to run off. And then they close took the lead. He said, yeah, we're gonna wait for you outside. Because this ass movement is divine. And if a demon, look, let me put it in perspective for you. If a demon is whooping your ass in the form of a man, that's the kind of beatings that, if you're not lucky, they might beat you to death. Because when somebody who has a mental issue, they grab a hold of you, they don't have a chill. So you got to, if they're in a wheelchair and they grab you, you got to look up at the dude pushing the wheelchair like, do something. Because this nigga don't look like he finna let go anytime soon.
I've seen that before. They have another type of strength. When they grab you, you can tell. It's not like a regular grab when somebody, no. It's a grab where it's like, yo, you're staying right here and not going anywhere. And you can tell, like, if a person don't know, they're like, no. You can tell even by the grab, the fear, it's like, it's a whole element change at that point.
This whole continent change.
Yeah, because you don't know when they saw. You're like, yo, tell your boy, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, this strong ass grip. I thought this nigga was crippled. What? Where's all this strength coming from? And then they start getting aggressive with you and shit. And you better hope it's not one of them the big, because when they got the big jakes and they just mentally not there, and they start looking at you, start getting closer to you and shit. You're like, yo, and you wondering why the caretaker is just standing there. Like, what's wrong with you? You trying to get sued? But the point is, if you got a demon on a person, meaning their mind is not there, they're the type to years ago they had people on that drug K2, Flocka, and you had people running up on get hit by a car, freaking slide a couple meters, get back up and jump on the windshield and break that shit with his head. You know how hard a windshield is? And he's boom, boom, boom. You had another dude, he was just naked in the dark. And they had him on the night vision, And this nigga is running around naked and shit. From what all you see is a quick boop, then boop, then boop. They're like, what the fuck? They slowing it down and they see a naked Edomite. You know what I'm saying? Just running running across the camera and shit.
I am legend.
Yeah. You know, but that's the power of the demons. So when you read the scriptures, it tells you that you have some demons that needed to be restrained. You need like a whole group of men to bind these niggas down. And they said he's breaking through the chains like it's
It's a guy who had legion on him.
Yeah.
Put him in the cage.
yeah. And then he was in the tombs. He basically nigga broke the cage, broke the chains, and ran into the tombs and started crying and stuff. Now you hear something like that. If a dude like that gets their hand on you, them sons, man, they probably locked the door with him inside. Leave him in there for a bit. And that nigga went to work on him. Imagine that. That's 7-on-1. You know, 7 sons on 1. And this he just get to work on him. So when them demons get a hold of you, especially in these times, they're not letting go. You be lucky if the Most High tell them, all right, you know, that's enough. You could chill. This gonna be like a pit bull that got his hands on you. You know?
See, there was some dude that jumped over into somebody's crib, and then he made a mistake. And then when he realized he saw the dog, he tried to jump back, but the dog grabbed his cheeks and it pulled him back down.
Yeah.
He tried to, but the dog yanked him back down.
Cartoon shit.
Yo, except for his ass. Yeah, them dogs, they be wild, man. They had that dog that was behind the fence, and the nigga thought it was a joke. So he's barking the dog, and the dog just bends the fence open like with his head, and literally with a metal gate, he bent the gate open and ran out. And then they had to cut the camera at that point, you know. But hey, that's the judgment the Lord's gonna send. He's gonna send that on you, you know. So hey, you know, it ain't no joke. But hey, you keep playing around.
Hey, yeah, that's why. Hey, the prophecy that talks about the wild dogs to tear, basically, the wild dogs gonna be tearing people ass up, you know. But I got a quick precept. You were talking about the K2 drug shit that was popping off a few years ago. Well, equivalent to K2, just demons. Right? There's a book of Mark, chapter 5, verse 1. It says, and they came over onto the other side of the sea, into the country of the Gadarenes. And when he was come out of the ship, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit, who had his dwelling among the tombs. No man could bind him, no, not with chains. Right? So this man was a whole nother level when it came to the demonic power that he had. Right? Nobody wanted to mess with him. You know? Verse 4 says, because that he had been often bound with fetters and chains, and the chains had been plucked asunder by him, and the fetters broken in pieces, neither could any man tame him. And so they couldn't subdue him. They couldn't grab him and be like, yo, put this man down. Yo, like 10 different men. You know how the cops be doing with Jake, where they come tackle Jake? Yeah, they tried all that shit. It ain't work. All right. It says, it's like, there's this movie where this guy had like, I think it was Split. He had like split personalities. And there was one personality where he'd be running like an animal. You remember Glass? I think that's his name. Yeah, Glass or some shit like that. Yeah. Those kind of situations are real because Esau goes into something known as MK Ultra, and they could actually program your mind to the point where you have different personalities, right? So upon hearing a certain command or a certain sound, that personality kicks in, and then you start acting all weird because you have all these different split personalities. Man, they actually do shit like that. I have a book that goes into that. All right. So continue. It says, verse 5. It says. And always, Mark 5, verse 5, and always night and day, he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying and cutting himself with stones. So then he got out of there. He got demons on him. It says, but when he saw Yahushua afar off, he ran and worshipped him. Okay? Shit. It says, and cried with a loud voice and said, what have I to do with thee, Yahushua, thou son of the Most High Power? I adjure thee by the Most High that thou torment me not. For he said unto him, come out of the man, thou unclean spirit. Okay, so the man was just a vessel for that unclean spirit that took over him, man. Okay, and a lot of people right now, as we speak, are being prepared to be vessels for these demons to take over. All right, so very soon, don't be surprised when you see family members start acting weird and shit. You be like, yo, why they acting all weird all of a sudden? What the hell is going on here? It's because they got demons on them, man. Right? And it's not the kind of demons that you want to go out there, put yourself out there to be like, I'm going to exercise this demon. Nah, if you're the elect, nigga, let the demons plague your ass. I'm out. I'm not about to exercise shit. I'm not trying to show no superpower, none of that. If you're not of the elect, and I see demons catching and grabbing hands on you, hey man, let them have fun with you, boy. Cause hey, we here. I said, hey, ain't none of my business. Yeah, we walking, we passing on by, baby. It says, and he asked him, what is thy name? And he answered, saying, my name is Legion, for we are many. Okay, so you might see some, especially I think we mentioned this was last week, that be very circumspect with how you move, because you don't want to get caught with, you might be driving, somebody cut you off, let them cut you off, let the Lord deal with it. Right? Get into the habit of saying, I'll let the Lord handle it. Let the Lord handle it, because that's your best bet. If you try to take matters into your own hands, try to be on some bravado shit, you might get your teeth knocked out. Next thing you know, you turn around, brothers asking you what happened. Or some nigga cut me off in traffic. I try to show him what's up, and then now here I am. You know what I'm saying? He show you what's up. So you're better off just let the Lord handle it. You get home safe, and you forget about it after a while, because your mind is on prophecy, really. So if a demon try to cross you up, hey, that nigga got demons on him, and you let it go and let the Lord deal with it. And guess what? Nigga might do that to the wrong person and get shot in front of you, and he'd be like, see, I let the Lord handle it. Now look, you see what I'm saying? So it says here, verse 10. And he besought him much that he would not send them away out of the country. Now there was there nigh unto the mountains a great herd of swine feeding. And all the devils besought him, saying, send us into the swine, that we may enter into them. Right? So even going to that, swine is such an unclean creature that it's a dwelling place for evil spirits to dwell in. Okay? So you got people eating all this shit. Guess what? You're eating those spirits. All right? They actually enter into you, man. When you eat swine, all that unclean shit, it goes into your system. It goes into your body. And now your spirit got to fight against all these demonic spirits. Next thing you don't know why you're getting sick all of a sudden, because they're fucking with you, man. All right? It says what? Verse 13, I'm going to pass it. It says, and forthwith Yahushua gave them leave, and the unclean spirits went out and entered into the swine, and the herd ran violently down a steep place into the sea. They were about 2,000. Damn. So that's all those demons that was on just this one nigga. That's why he was cutting himself, being in the tombs. Because listen, bro, ain't nobody in the middle of the night. You in the wilderness in tombs, nigga, by yourself. You gotta have some different type of, not just one demon. You got 2,000 demons on them. That's a lot. Okay, that's why he said we are called Legion, for we are many. Many 2,000. That's a lot. That's not even many. That's a lot, bro. Right? It says, and we're choked in the sea. Right? Meaning they all drowned. Right? Because pigs can't swim, so they all drown. Okay, so that's just an example of things that were happening back then. That's going to be happening again here this time around, but this time it's going to be like never before. Right? It says we're going to be in a time like never before. We've witnessed a man who had 2,000 demons on him. Okay, and he was just cutting himself, doing all kinds of weirdo shit. Nobody could press him, hold him, talk to him. None of that. So imagine this time around, where we live in a place that fosters all these kinds of 2,000 plus demons. Right? Most of these Americans that are walking past that you see, maybe you work with them, you be on the same bus with them, they maybe be in the same gym with you, same school with you, whatever the case may be. You never know. That's why you gotta be careful, because them niggas got demons on them, especially the women. They got a whole bunch of demons on them. They got their demons and the demons that the niggas be passing into them. All right. So they got all that shit that you gotta think about and consider. All right, but y'all brothers got it.
Yeah, and it's all combining. Because in that time of Jacob's trouble, you see glimpses here and there, but in the time of Jacob's trouble, the Lord's gonna have it all unleashed. All right, and you're gonna see what hell on earth looks like. All right, so you don't want to play those kinds of games. You definitely don't want to be playing those kinds of games now, going into this time, because we all gonna need Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua to deliver us. Right, we all gonna be crying to the Lord, but He's only gonna be hearing the cries of His chosen, of His elect, of those that He's gonna have mercy on. The others, your cries are just going to warrant judgment upon you. Your cries are just going to remind the Lord of the wickedness that you've done. All right. He's going to send them swarms on your ass. All right. So, pretty much going into here. Water. Brothers, got anything else? Cool. All right. So, yeah, we're going to end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. As we come into 2026, you want to, once again, stay in the spirit. All right. Stay locked in, because at this point, you can expect anything with how fast they're moving with it. All right. And Lord willing, we don't got to endure much longer in here. But anyway, want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'Shem, Yahushua, Ba'Shem, Rakak, Wadash. Until next time, Shalom.